chapters we covered for week 3, which were about water and about seawater. What I learned was a lot more about water itself and its bonds and the hydrogen bonds and how that all affects our water and basically like what water really is and how it affects life. I know I've seen like documentaries about water and how it's important how water can change between like a liquid, a solid, and a gas, like pretty easily compared to like some other elements. And it's also interesting like the density of water and how that changes depending on like its state, especially with the fact that like solid is less dense than the liquid is. And I found it interesting as well, like how you can't really like compress water. I never really thought of that, but it makes sense, and it also makes sense for why when people try to explore down in the ocean, how the pressure increases so much, and it just all kind of makes more sense why the pressure increases so much with like adding atmospheres of pressure. Also learned with salt water, the different pHs and stuff, and that salt water is, I believe it was between 7.5 and 8.5, which is more basic than our normal water or rainwater. I also found it interesting with the fact that if the ocean water gets too acidic, it can start damaging like fish, which is kind of interesting to me too, and I kind of wonder what happens with that, like at what level is it too much. And I guess I kind of want to learn more about how everything regulates better. Like if the pH rises too high in one area and it ends up killing off some organisms or harming some organisms, does that just kind of start spreading, or would that somehow become regulated, and through what processes does the pH actually change? I just want to learn more about that. Let's see. Oh, my questions. I guess I'll just do that in the middle. I want to know more about the process of how we take both salts and fresh water from the ocean. Like, how does that affect the concentration in the ocean itself? Is it such a small amount in the area that it doesn't do much? Or, say if you have like a big, like freshwater, I don't know what you would call it, but like a plant that actually takes water out of the ocean and makes fresh water and puts the salts back in, does that actually change the salinity of the ocean within any like decent range, or is the ocean like big enough that it doesn't really affect that area? And the same with like when you take salts out of the ocean, or even like other things. We were talking about the sand and gravel, but when you're taking nutrients and such out of the ocean, how does that affect the ecosystems and the systems in general of the ocean? Also, I've heard a lot about water and how water is very special, and obviously water is what we look for when we look for life on other planets. But is there another element, or, well, I guess water's not an element, but is there another compound that would be able to do the same things as water? Or is water, and like how it's put together, literally like unique in a way that cannot be replicated with any other elements or compounds or solutions? My final question is, how does the pH, I guess I kind of already mentioned this, but how does pH really affect the ocean, and can it spread? Like if you have one area that for some reason ends up with like a very acidic pH for the ocean, will that just spread into the surrounding areas, and what can kind of be done to prevent it from spreading and to put it back how it should be? So I don't know if anyone will answer my questions because I'm posting this rather late, but That's what they are. Thank you.